Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video, we're checking out the brand new Skullbox leverless arcade controller from Skullbox Custom Arcades. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, Skullbox sent me their all-button arcade controller for a fair and honest review, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. Opening up the box, I can see a whole bunch of bubble wrap and a whole bunch of different things. The first item here is a USB-C to USB-A cable. It's fairly long and it is at a right angle. I've seen more and more people shift to right angle connectors, probably to stop them from accidentally breaking. Underneath a whole bunch of bubble wrap is the Skullbox Custom Arcades All-Button Arcade Controller, and I will say they don't spare any expense in terms of making sure this is packaged up well to prevent damage. And while I'm taking this out of the package, I realized there's a personalized note written on the top of the box, and I was debating on whether or not to include it, but here we are. Hi Alan, I hope you enjoyed the controller as much as I did making it. Would love to hear your thoughts and feedback on our product. Look forward to your review. Mike. Now, just so everyone is aware, the only way I agree to review a product is to make sure I don't have any limitations and I can say what I want about it. And it does scare some companies away, but some companies decide to pass me their product anyway and hope for the best. And inside this bubble wrap, we've got the Skullbox All-Button Arcade Controller, and it's kind of the way I like it, nice and simple. I'm not the biggest fan of the loudest designs out there. I do like something nice, simple, and subtle, and well, this fits the bill. It's white with black buttons, and the picture on the website does this product justice. It looks exactly like the picture on the website. The button caps are 24mm, with the jump button at the bottom being a 30mm button. And if we take a look at the sides here, this is a fairly low profile. The buttons do stick up quite a bit though, and they are rounded. They're not concave, they're convex, which is usually pretty standard. On the top here, we've got a USB-C connector, and that is it. For those of you looking for a headphone jack, there isn't here, and there isn't normally on a lot of these custom-made arcade sticks. On the bottom here, we've got a foam pad with some etching in it, Skullbox Custom Arcades and their logo, and also cutouts to where the screws are if you ever need to open it. Now let's take a closer look at these buttons, and you can see when they're fully pressed in, they're not fully flush with the case, but I think that's a very good thing. In my opinion here, they're absolutely perfect the way they are. They don't fully press in, your finger doesn't get caught on the edges of the buttonholes. You can easily roll your finger from one button to another. And on top of that, the edges of the button caps are a little bit beveled. They're not sharp, so your fingers are not going to get caught on the edges. As for how these keycaps fit on the micro switches, I can confidently say they fit extremely well. There is a little bit of wiggle here, but that's on the micro switch, it's not the keycap. These things fit very well and wiggle a lot less than some other fight sticks I have. Now the top row of buttons contain no labeling, so you will have to commit them to memory. We've got Home, Select, Start, L3, R3, and the touchpad key. And these are all micro switches and very clicky. And as for the buttons themselves, they do not click like a standard micro switch, and we'll talk about those in just a second. And the edges of this fight stick are beveled. They do not dig into your hands too much at all. They've done a very good job at the finer details here and making sure this is as comfortable as possible to use. As for the size of the Skullbox, I'm certain I'm going to get some questions on it. Yes, it is pretty small, and well, here you go. Here's the Skullbox beside the Snackbox Micro first generation. And you can see that the Skullbox is a little bit smaller in some areas and a little bit bigger in others. So here's the Skullbox stacked on top of the Snackbox Micro, and you can see the differences as plain as day. It's a little less wide, but it is a little bit deeper. And in terms of overall thickness, I was a little bit surprised about this one, but the Skullbox is thinner than the Snackbox Micro. There's also something I want to point out here. It's a little bit hard to show on camera, and I'm going to do my best job to try to showcase it. Anyways, there is a bit of a texture on the top of this thing, which I really appreciate. It prevents this thing from being a fingerprint magnet and also helps your hands from slipping around on this thing accidentally. And now let's take a look at the keycaps. The keycaps on this one are injection molded. And as for the top of the keycaps, they're not completely smooth. They have a bit of a micro texture on them. and I really, really like them. I think this is the perfect balance between something smooth and something textured. And as for the micro switches on here, they've got Kailh low profile reds, which I would argue is one of the more popular choices in a lot of different custom fight sticks. Now, if you know me, I'm going to try to deconstruct this thing as much as possible, and you can see that the micro switches on this thing are fully replaceable and removable. So if you do have a problem with them, you can replace them. If you wanted to swap them out with a different type, you absolutely can, provided they're Kailh low profile switches. And here is the PCB in all of its glory. This is pretty much as far as I can deconstruct this thing. It's got the Skullbox Custom Arcades branding. It's purple. The top left buttons here are all soldered to the board. And the heart of this thing is a Brook Fusion board. This thing is compatible with a whole bunch of different systems. Now, obviously, you can use this on your lap or on the table, but I will say the positioning of your hands may dictate your overall preference as to whether to use it on a table or your lap. For example here, my hands are angled inwards. The bottom corners of this stick are pressing into my palms. They are beveled, so it's not sharp. But at the same time here, it is a bit annoying when I'm using this thing on a table. If my hands were straight, there is no issue. If my hands are at an angle here, there's obviously an issue. On my lap though, the corners are kind of nice because it holds everything in place. On the other hand here, if you don't rest your palms on the controller, you'll have no issues whatsoever. And as for a profile thing, just remember it is very thin. Here is my Newfie Air 75 keyboard, which is very thin, and this Skullbox is thinner than that. Now to show this controller in action, I'm connecting it to my Nintendo Switch. Since it is on a Brook board, I have to hit one kick and then plug it in. And then I can press L and R and it immediately registers. Again, we're dealing with a Brook board and Kailh switches, so no surprise there's very little latency and it's very responsive. As for the button play and actuation distance, well, here you go. There is a bit of button play before the button registers as an input. And this is a characteristic of the Kailh red switch. Pretty much any fight stick with a Kailh red switch will have a very similar actuation distance and force. And here you can see how easy this controller is to use. I mean, I'm holding it in the air right now in my hands. It's not resting on anything, and everything is coming out okay. I'm not joking with you here. I think part of this is because of the texture of the fight stick and also the texture of the buttons, but this is very easy to use even just holding in the air. Obviously not the most ideal way to use this thing, but at the same time, I'm having no issues and I'm very impressed. Now, as for overall quality, I want to be completely transparent with you. I have not one, but two of these Skullbox controllers, and that's because the first one they sent me had a problem with the USB-C. It wasn't registering in anything I was trying to plug it into. Now, to be fair, the first unit they sent me was an early production sample. I contacted them saying it doesn't matter, I'm going to include that with my review. They diagnosed the issue to be a USB component, and they ended up replacing that with all of the batches moving forward. So I'm happy to say the second one I received is an actual production model, and I've had this for a couple of months and really put it through its paces. I have not been easy on it. And so far so good, it's been holding up 100% fine. So let's go over what I liked, what I didn't like, and whether or not I'd recommend the Skullbox. And we'll start out here with what I liked. First and foremost, I like the texture on the case of this. It's not too smooth, it's not too rough, it's not a fingerprint magnet, and it's not a dirt magnet. It's a very nice feel overall. And I love the texture on these buttons. I think they did an absolutely fantastic job designing these button caps. Furthermore, I love the fact that the switches are completely replaceable, so if you wanted to switch them out, you absolutely can. I like the foam on the back of this. There is no smell to it. It works very well, and it's not a complete dirt collector. I found the Skullbox very easy to open up and reassemble. It's very light, and it doesn't feel cheap. Now switching over to things I don't like about the Skullbox, and the first thing here is the USB-C connector. It is a little bit recessed in there, and it's not going to work with every single USB-C cable. You may have to bevel this one out yourself if you end up switching cables and it doesn't work. The second thing I don't like is a matter of personal preference, and this will vary greatly from person to person, but I did not like how this felt when I was using it on my desk. I didn't like the case form factor here in the corners when I was trying to put my hands on it. Now, you're not supposed to put your hands and rest them on the case, but at the same time, that's just how I use it. And with my hands pointed inwards, the case was digging into my palms. If my hands were straight, there was no issue whatsoever. But on the flip side here, and to be perfectly fair, when I was using this on my lap, I liked the form factor because that little corner kept this thing in place. And the last thing I don't like, and this may change in the future because Skullbox is still very new, I don't like the lack of customization options. You can only get the Skullbox in black and white. The keycaps are only in black, and the switches are only Kale Reds. However, and this is a big one, you do have the option of choosing your PCB, which will affect the price and overall compatibility. So let's switch over now into my overall thoughts and whether or not I'd recommend the Skullbox, and we'll take a look at the price here. So we've got 3 different PCBs. The one that I've got in mind right now is the Fusion, compatible with PS5, PS4, PC, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. It's priced at $240 USD. If your main use for this is on the PlayStation 4 and PC, you can change up your price a little bit and save about $42. It comes to $198 USD. And if you're using this on the Switch and PC, and I guess also PS3, you can get a much cheaper board here, and the price is $179 USD. Now, all 3 of these options are made by Brook, and in my opinion, they're quality boards with a lot of support. So from $179 all the way up to $240, at this price point, would I recommend the Skullbox? And the answer here is yes. I believe the pros far outweigh the cons. I believe that this is a quality fight stick. And on a side note here, I believe Skullbox is located in Australia, so if you have problems getting sticks from North America, well, Skullbox might be a nice option for you. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. Shoutouts to Skullbox for providing not 1, but 2 controllers for a fair and honest review. It's nice to see new companies enter this space. Let me know your thoughts about the Skullbox in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your estate.